Imagine not being able to read the paper because your hands were shaking. Imagine not being able to read newsprint as your world faded to black. The National Federation of the Blind, Newsline, Indiana. With your host, Lee Martin, and co-host, Florence Myers-McSwine.
We want to welcome you back to the National Federation of the Blind Newsline Indiana show. And we also want to thank you for joining us so many times. And today we have a very special guest. But we want to talk about the NFB Newsline service. It's a free service. That's the National Federation of the Blind sponsors and, actually produces and is sponsored through the Talking Book and Braille Library services here in the state of Indiana. So to find out more information, just pay attention to our commercials, and you'll hear and you'll also view all the information that you need to contact us to subscribe to this free service. It's an audio information service that allows individuals that are print challenged, those that are blind, those that are deafblind, those that cope with shaky hand syndrome, or those with certain forms of dyslexia. Even the deafblind can access this free service. It allows individuals to read newspaper publications, magazines, TV guide listings, job listings, which are very important to those that are seeking jobs that are blind and print challenge. With the people with disabilities, over 70% of that population is unemployed or underemployed. And this free service allows you that independence to access publications 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Florence, you want to talk about some of the what you listen to on the NFB Newsline?
I listen to a lot, Lee. I like music, and there's a magazine called Rolling Stones. Rolling Stones gives you the information on music, trends, and things like that. I love Rolling Stones magazines. There's Reader's Digest. I like to read that because of the variety. There's also Guidepost magazine, which is very inspirational reading. I've been reading that for years, and I still enjoy reading it through NFB Newsline.
Okay, and there's a number of devices that you can access this free service on, and you can access it with an app on the iPhone. You can also use the Android phone, the computer, the digital talking player from the National Library of Congress, which you can get through the Talking Book and Braille Library services. Also, you can access it with your Victor Reader Stream, and we have a very new brand new way of accessing it, and we'll have our guest, Mr. Nicholas, tell you about how he's accessing this service.
I've been accessing it through the wonderful Amazon Echo Dot, and you can just pull it up, and it has all your great features. And probably, I'm in the sports, and the biggest one is ESPN Magazine is on there, and the local paper. So I think those have been the biggest ones that really helped me, because I have some little vision, but it allows me to actually be able to see the full content and actually know what's going on of all the papers out there, and actually learning more papers that I didn't even know.
Wow, so that's very good. That Amazon Echo and Dot, I tell you, it's a fantastic service to have that entity brought into our NFB Newsline free service. So we're going to take a short pause, and we're going to come back and talk a little bit more with Mr. Nicholas, and stay tuned.
With my failing eyesight, I'm not able to read regular newspapers, and I'm not able to keep up with obituaries.
I've been a homemaker all of my life, but since my vision has failed, I wish I could read my favorite magazines.
Have you heard of the NFB Newsline?
Learn more by calling 855-963-6476 or visit nfbnewsline-in.org.
Subscribe free to NFB Newsline today.
As I travel the nation, I read NFB Newsline.
I live in Valparaiso, Indiana, and I listen to my local news on NFB Newsline.
As a student, I enjoy reading current events on NFB Newsline.
Learn more by calling 855-963-6476 or visit nfbnewsline-in.org.
Subscribe free to NFB Newsline today.
Welcome back to this week's National Federation of the Blind Newsline Indiana show. And our special guest this week is Mr. Nicholas Herron. And Nicholas, welcome to our show today.
Thank you.
And Nicholas, now I just want to just zoom on in with you because I had the privilege of meeting you several months ago through the Partners in Policy Making class of 2018-2019. But I know that you have a variety of interests. And so let's talk about a few things that, let's give a little information about Mr. Nicholas Herron.
Yeah, a wonderful individual.
You're going to pat yourself on the back.
With legally blindness from birth, and I've been legally blind all my life and had many challenges and experiences that I've been able to do for it. I went to the School for the Blind and Vision Impaired. Back then it was Indiana School for the Blind, so I'm still used to saying it as alum from left in '99, and then did things back in my own community that allowed me to experience normal lifestyle. And I am an individual that gets great support and wants to promote legally blindness out into the community to show that people can be able to be an individual that can live on their own and have the same challenges as us, but be able to show it in a normal way.
Okay, so Nicholas, so let's back up just a little bit. You said that you were born legally blind.
Correct.
And did they give your parents a diagnosis at that time?
Yes, I have a disease called renal retina dysplasia. Basically, in a nutshell, it's the retina part of your body. It didn't develop right. And they still have done studies and still don't have much research about it, but it's basically, they explain it in English terms, it's basically the retina and the renal has caused issues with my body over the years with different challenges and why I have the disability.
Now, when did they notice that you had this health issue?
I believe I was about 3 years old. I still is still trying to get information from different people, but I believe it was 3. I went in for an eye test from a very wonderful people that might know in the blind and vision community, Dr. Sandi, a IU specialist, and they noticed that there was some deterioration on my retina and started realizing things. And I think they did more tests, but I still have to get more research and asking my family. But that is basically the story I've been given.
Okay, and are you your only child?
No, I have 2 siblings. I have a younger brother and an older sister. They had the same syndrome. We are a very rare syndrome. Out there, it's never been detected before, and they are still, as I said, doing studies across the country to try to figure out more research to be able to detect this, because they think it could be in other children down the road.
Now, are you the oldest sibling?
I am the middle sibling, so I had to deal with all the competitiveness of both sides of getting bullied. I wouldn't say bullied, but played on from both sides.
Okay, so you're with the condition. By the time you came along, your parents was pretty much adjusted, would you say?
I would say they were halfway adjusted, but they were learning, and I think why it did so well is my mom was a special ed teacher, and I think that understanding disabilities in the way, but I think it still was a teaching point, but I think it allowed her to be able to advocate and helped me along until I became an adult.
Now, you say you attended the Indiana School for the Blind and Visually Impaired. Did you ever entertain going into mainstream school?
Yes, I went back for high school. I left in '99, as I said, and went back to my community high school so I could be integrated in with all my friends that lived in my hometown, and it was a great success because it really made a great vision into disability awareness in that community, because that community didn't have much. And me being at the school, it really opened the doors to conclusion and disabilities. There's still a lot of issues that went on, but it started opening doors, and I think it really showed because there were not many people that could be in conclusion classrooms that had a disability, and I was one. I would have to say I was one. I mean, there were some people, but not somebody very severe with like a vision loss.
Now, did you find that educational system accepted your condition, or did you have access to instructional material as you needed to have?
It was a learning curve for the school, but I think the school, it helped them down the road because it helped open their special ed department to more, challenging things, because they started adding more things as I was there, and then I seen a total difference in the years past. So.
Okay. Now, one question I'm itching to ask you, and maybe some of our listeners are too. Were you in Indianapolis school systems, or?
I went to Zionsville schools, and Zionsville Community High School and Zionsville Community Schools, and it's really opened doors for them, and I'm proud to be an alum of them. It was great to go back there because I think with the openness and the advocacy I have, it really made me realize some things down the road from my journal life. Also, one of the great things and honors I have is I am an Eagle Scout for the Boy Scouts of America, and I proudly love to tell that. I did my Eagle Scout project on organ donation, and really opened some doors in disabilities that way too, of sharing that disabilities could be challenges, but they're there for us to really keep growing and pushing our goals beyond the point.
That's true. Because I know being disabled, we are our best advocates. We have to learn to advocate for ourselves. And now, with your attending ISBVI and going into mainstream school, I do know that along with that comes a lot of educating, because you have to educate people on disabilities. And I'm just kind of guessing that you were advocating by teaching others about blindness and going forward and standing strong in who you are. But Nicholas, at what age do you believe that you began advocating? Because I talk to you a lot, and you seem to have that instilled in you to advocate. So at what age do you believe that you began advocating?
I believe it happened when I left ISBVI and went back to high school, because I'm in the community. I felt like because the people would come up to me and not understand it, and I figured if I don't start really advocating or showing it, I think it's going to make a hindrance on me, and I'd be struggling. I mean, I did have some struggling periods in that time of just a lot of things that don't want to share on the air, but they still helped me, and it still made me realize that. So I would say I was probably 15, 16 years old, and realizing I need to make a difference in my life. And it started happening through many activities I did. I did other ones that they were great accomplishments, but they weren't ones that I would still recommend today.
So did you find the support of the school systems, your teachers and the principals and the school system itself to be open-minded to, you? And I'm sure you had some advocates along with you.
I had advocates along with me, and I think wouldn't have done it without my family, because there were a lot of, back then I know a lot of doors have been opening for inclusion in schools, but at the time I was there were still some tough things that I had to really push for. A lot of things that you just think were normal were not normal, or things that I thought, I think that I could get that, and we had to really set an example of, it's going to work for him. And after it worked, they realized it's a great thing, but at first they thought, well, we don't want to spend the money, or we don't want to be a hindrance on the whole classroom, when realizing it was a helpful tool.
Well, we're going to take a short pause, and we're going to come back and talk about some of the other tools and some of the other advancements that you have made in the community. So we'll be right back with Mr. Nicholas.
Thousands of Indiana residents feel isolated from the world due to vision problems. Thanks to the National Federation of the Blind, visually impaired Hoosiers can hear newspapers, circulars, and magazines from across the globe.
I'm a Vietnam veteran. I'm blind. I read Stars and Stripes on NFB Newsline.
Learn more by calling 855-963-6476 or visit nfbnewsline-in.org.
Subscribe free to NFB Newsline.
If you or someone you know is visually impaired or print challenged, the National Federation of the Blind has a resource you need.
I use NFB Newsline when reading Hammond Northwest Times.
Using NFB Newsline, I read the Christian Science magazine.
Dad, you read Jerusalem Post, too.
Learn more by calling 855-963-6476 or visit nfbnewsline-in.org.
Live the life you want. Read NFB Newsline.
It's free.
Welcome back to the National Federation of the Blind Newsline Indiana show with our guest today, Mr. Nicholas Herron. And Nicholas, again, thank you for being our guest. And we have covered some information, and great information. And you've spoken about your journey with blindness. And so let's talk a little bit more about you, Nicholas. And you, according to some information you've given us, you like to travel. Tell us a little bit about you.
Yes, I have traveled. I've been to many places due to the help of my father with business, and he would take me along and be able to see things instead of just saying, I'm just going to go to an event in his business. He would take me along and let me actually experience the areas. He lives out in the East Coast and at this time, and I've been out there to visit many times and seeing the major great cities out there, and he's made it willing to someone with a vision loss to experience things that people wouldn't experience. And it's been a great time traveling. I really love it. It's fun, and I'll tell you, many of the hotels and airports and everything are very, very accommodating for those with a vision loss. I have never had any trouble maneuvering or getting around. People are just very friendly in the tourism business. It sees you with a cane and has a vision loss, and I think parents with children that have vision loss might think that, we can't travel, or it's going to be tough, or we're going to have different struggles. No. Disney World, I've been to Disney World a couple times. They are so willing to give you accommodations. They actually, if you go to the visitor center, they'll actually give you an iPad. It will be a virtual iPad. It will guide you around in whatever ride or wherever. It knows where you're at in the park and will tell you everything to somebody that's blind. And I love it. It's a great time. You get to experience different cities, and I have enjoyed it myself. And I think it really shows that someone with a vision loss can actually travel, because some people think they can't.
And I know with vision loss, we can live the life we want, you know. And a lot of people have these preconceived notions about people with blindness, and people don't know what they don't know. And you also mentioned you've had an opportunity to speak to legislatures and councilmen, council persons about issues concerning people with disabilities. And so with that, that kind of brings us to what's going on with you now. You were recently accepted as a participant in the Partners in Policy Making class of 2018-2019. And you mentioned that that's really been a major peak for you. So tell us a little bit about that, Nicholas.
It has been a major peak, because I had a few years from high school until now that due to personal reasons, I had to take a couple steps back in my life, but I've been able to put it forward. And being to a couple people that said, you know, you need to check out Partners. You're great advocating and educating, but you need that adapting piece out to people. And we think you can learn that. And I wrestled on it a couple nights, and I thought myself, great. I know so many people in the disability community, and I think it would allow me to show disabilities in a better way versus just blindness or vision loss. And it's helped me to learn, be able to advocate, learn about the different policies and procedures and tactics out there in our community to help anybody with an intellectual disability. And that's what I think I'm here to do. That's what my goal or my challenge in my free time is, to help anyone I see that has a disability. You know, there's sometimes you don't realize somebody has a disability and they don't know all the services or how to live their life just like a normal person, because there's so many things they're not told in transition from high school to a normal life, or from college, or out in the life, and they lose just a blindness or get a new disability put on by a doctor. They say, oh, my life is done. It's not. It's for us to be out there to help them advocate and educate and actually adapt it. And so many people put those first two pieces as the only part, and they don't want to do the third. I see that so much just, walking our city streets, and it's sad. But there has to be a change, and I think that's where I can come in to make the change. And it's very easy if you just get out there and make a voice. And I think that's what's been on my mind with Partners, and it's been great. That's how I met Florence. It's been great to meet new people, with the great alumni out there, and it really is what's going to show our community, what's going to show our legislators to change the laws, because so many of them don't understand disabilities.
And you are so right about that, Nicholas, that you have to be your self-advocate, and you have to go out and find where you can get the education, where you can get the proper training, the proper tools. And I would say that Partners in Policy is a great place to be with the Governor's Council for People with Disabilities. Now, you also volunteer.
Yeah, I volunteered for the Routerbush VA Medical Center with Deanna Austin. Put a hello out to her. And we do great things, and it's great to help the veterans that have served for us to serve back for them, and that's what I do as volunteer work. And it's been, I've done that for 4 years, and I love it. I love being down there for them.
Well, and Deanna's title is Visual Impairment Service Team Coordinator. And she works with blinded veterans, and so you also extend yourself and your service to that. And as a blinded veteran myself, I say thank you very much for that, for volunteering for us veterans that are blind, and for those that can see. So what is your next step in life? What's your next big goal?
I think my next big goal is to focus on my community project with partners in policy, because it's supposed to help those with intellectual disabilities that have a better, healthy life. Mm-hmm. And I think people with disabilities know how to have a healthy life, but I think this will show it tools for them to be able to do it. So that is my next big step. My also big step is to look at my future 5-year plan. I don't know what that will entail for me, but that is my next 2 big goals. And the third one would be to keep promoting intellectual disabilities to anyone that might cause a disability, from birth all the way to seniors. Anyone that needs help, that I'm there to be their self-advocate, because self-advocacy is so big, and so many things in our laws and our regulations today are just being skyrocketing. And there's so much change, but I think me being a self-advocate out there for those, and I want to help each one, so I'm open to people to share with and be there for them as a voice.
Well, I'm sure that you are going to be doing that, and we look forward to hearing more of your voice out there in the field of advocacy for people with disabilities. So we're going to take a short pause and come back with the conclusion of our show, so stay tuned.
The National Federation of the Blind knows that blindness is not the characteristic that defines you or your future. Every day we raise the expectations of blind people, because low expectations create obstacles between blind people and our dreams. You can live the life you want. Blindness is not what holds you back.
Well, Mr. Nicholas, we want to thank you for coming on to the show. And we also want to say thank you for all that you're doing in our community. And you want to say something to this young man here.
I'd like to thank this young gentleman that's here with us today, Solomon Williams. Is going into general training and into the military, and thank you for what service you've already done and what you're going to be doing.
As I say to everybody who has a disability or has a change in life, 3 words: improvise, adapt, and overcome.
And that's what both of you will be doing, and we'll all be doing. And so we want to say thank you very much for both of you. And thank you. You got anything to say real quick, Mr. Solomon?
Not really.
He's a shy young man right now, but I'll guarantee you after boot camp, he'll be all right.
Yes, he will.
So thank you very much for your time, and thank you for your pending service, and thank you for your service. And join us again next week.
The National Federation of the Blind, Newsline, Indiana. For more information, go to nfb-in.org or call 855-963-6476. That's 855-963-6476. The National Federation of the Blind encourages you to live the life you want.